and I don't really see the reason for that. First and foremost, to let you know, last week was not a dream. Charlie Kirk, my friend, is dead, and he was publicly executed. I want to make that clear. Charlie Kirk was publicly executed before the world. All right, you guys, we're going to jump right into this with no introduction. There's a lot that I would like to speak with you guys about. Can't wait to hear your feedback. A lot of lies that are being put out there, narratives that I would say are half-truths or just misrepresentations entirely.
Breaking news: what you're about to hear is not just a story. It's a betrayal so deep, it's shaking the nation to its core. At exactly 8:42 p.m., the night sky of UVU was ripped apart by a single sound, a gunshot that didn't just end a life, it triggered a war of secrets. Thousands were watching live as Charlie Kirk collapsed to the ground. Screams, chaos, flashing lights, and then silence. But what followed wasn't justice. It was a script. A script too clean, too perfect, like someone wrote the ending long before the story began. They said it was just one shooter. They said it was random. But the footage, the shadows, the angles, they tell a different story. On that rooftop, something moved, something planned. And just hours later, Erica Kirk stood in front of the cameras. No tears, no shaking voice, only a calm, calculated statement that made millions uneasy. Some saw a widow, others saw a woman who already knew. Then came the leak. One line changed everything. If he doesn't go there, the plan stops. Those weren't just whispers, they were the sound of betrayal. Candace Owens stepped in, pointing her finger at the woman who once stood closest to Charlie. The internet erupted. #PillowBetrayal caught fire. What was once grief turned into war. A $350,000 transfer. A missing guard. Vanished CCTV angles. And a mysterious meeting in a Phoenix hotel. One by one, the pieces started falling into place. This wasn't just a shot fired at UVU. This was an execution planned in silence. And now the nation is divided. Truth versus faith. Fire versus silence. Candace versus Erica. But one thing is certain, somebody is lying. This isn't just tragedy. This is a betrayal that changed everything. The question is, who really pulled the trigger? The night wasn't supposed to end like this. A single moment, one sound, changed everything. At exactly 8:42 p.m., the bright lights of UVU turned into a living nightmare. Charlie Kirk stood on stage, smiling, waving to the crowd, and then, in the blink of an eye, he fell. The sound of a single shot cut through the air like a scream no one could silence. Thousands of phones were live streaming. Millions watched the feed as the frame shook and then went dark. People weren't just witnessing a tragedy. They were witnessing a perfectly staged moment. Too clean, too quick, too controlled. Like someone had planned this long before Charlie ever stepped on that stage. Within minutes, chaos spread. Sirens wailed, people screamed, but one thing stood out: how fast the official story appeared. A name flashed everywhere: Tyler James Robinson, a 22-year-old with a family heirloom, Mauser 98 rifle. Police claimed he acted alone. They claimed the case was already solved. But the internet didn't buy it. Experts, frame by frame, tore the footage apart. They found what the official version didn't say. A shadow on the rooftop. A sudden movement behind the wall. And something even stranger, the trajectory of the bullet didn't match the supposed position of the shooter. It was as if someone wanted the story to sound simple, because the truth was far too big to contain. Then came the moment that no one could forget. Just hours after the shooting, Erica Kirk appeared on camera. Her voice was calm, steady, almost rehearsed. No tears, no breakdown, just words. I forgive him. The mission will continue. The nation froze. This wasn't how a grieving wife sounded. It was how someone sounded when they were in control. Within seconds, #Erica Kirk exploded across platforms. Half the audience saw a woman of faith. The other half saw something far darker, a mask behind which secrets lived. Theories began to take shape. Leaked security chatter suggested access codes were changed on the morning of the event. 2 CCTV angles were lost due to technical issues. A guard positioned on the east side simply vanished from all records. People began to whisper, this wasn't an accident. This was an inside job. And then, a sound that silenced everything else. A leaked audio clip. One line, low, cold, unmistakable. If he doesn't go there, the plan stops. The world stopped breathing. The voice was soft but recognizable. Many believed it was Erica's. That's all it took. The story caught fire like gasoline on dry ground. Hashtags exploded. TikTok flooded with remixes, slow-motion breakdowns, and conspiracy maps. People started connecting dots the FBI hadn't even mentioned. And just when things couldn't get more intense, Candace Owens entered the storm. She looked straight into the camera and said, Charlie was betrayed by someone he trusted more than anyone else. One sentence, and the internet broke apart. #PillowBetrayal trended worldwide. Erica's name became the center of a digital war zone. Supporters defended her faith. Critics dissected her every breath, her every gesture, her every blink. Behind the scenes, whispers grew louder. A $350,000 transfer to an unknown shell company. A missing security guard. A gun too old, too heavy, too complicated for a lone attacker. A pattern no one could ignore. This wasn't just a murder. It was a message. A perfectly placed, carefully staged moment designed to shake the foundation of everything Charlie represented. By midnight, the internet had already decided. Someone had planned this, and the person closest to him might know exactly why. And in that single night, grief turned into war. A widow turned into a question mark. And the rooftop became a symbol of a truth too dangerous to speak aloud. The world had barely recovered from the shock of that night when another wave of chaos hit. What started as whispers turned into a full-blown storm. A new recording surfaced, not grainy, not unclear, but sharp, precise, and horrifying. A woman's voice, calm yet cold, saying, "The stage is ready. Nothing can stop it now." People froze. The timing, the tone, the implication. It was enough to ignite the internet like wildfire. Everyone knew whose voice they believed it was Erica Kirk. It wasn't just a random leak. It sounded like a plan. Meanwhile, the official investigation kept repeating the same story. A lone gunman, a tragic moment. But the evidence kept piling up. First, the CCTV angles from the East Wing, missing. Then the rooftop camera footage, glitched. And then came the most disturbing revelation yet. A second access code was entered into the security system minutes before the gunshot. Someone inside had unlocked a door. Social media turned into a battleground. Millions of users started building their own timelines, connecting their own dots, tearing apart the narrative piece by piece. At the center of it all stood Erica, silent, perfectly composed, posting nothing but Bible verses and candle emojis. That silence spoke louder than any statement. And then, she appeared at the memorial. Dressed in black, hair perfect, holding a microphone like a practiced speaker. Cameras flashed. Her words were soft but chilling. "You have no idea what's been unleashed." That one line became the headline of the day. People said it didn't sound like grief. It sounded like a warning. Clips of her speech hit 10 million views in hours. Analysts replayed her every blink, every pause, every controlled breath. Comment sections filled with two sides, she's mourning versus she's hiding something. Then came the $350,000 transfer revelation. A financial leak exposed a payment sent to Erica's account 2 weeks before the shooting from a shell company in Delaware that dissolved just 4 days later. Internet detectives dug deeper. No employees. No business records. No trace. A clean ghost. A theory began to take shape. What if this wasn't just betrayal? What if it was about betrayal? Into this chaos walked Candace Owens like a firestorm. Her live stream shattered records. She stared into the camera with fire in her eyes and said, Charlie was set up, and the person standing next to him knew everything. The world went silent. Within seconds, hashtags exploded. #RoofFiles, #InsideJob, #PillowBetrayal. Videos flooded every platform, side-by-side analysis of Erica's calmness, the financial transfers, and the missing guard. People started pointing out a mysterious man standing in the corner during the vigil. A face no one could identify. A badge that didn't match the official security list. Then came the Phoenix Hotel footage. A short, shaky video filmed 2 days after Charlie's death. Erica sitting at a luxury bar with 2 men. Her body language stiff, her hands fidgeting, her face pale. Within hours, the video was deleted from every platform, but by then it was already too late. Copies were everywhere. And the internet doesn't forget. Theories multiplied like fire. Some said she was forced into silence. Others believed she was the masterpiece of the entire plan. The FBI said nothing. The media tiptoed, but the people screamed. And in the middle of it all, Dave Chappelle stepped in. He looked straight into the camera and said, "This isn't a random story. This is what happens when they think you'll never ask questions." That line alone split the internet apart. Erica's silence became deafening. Candace's accusations grew louder. The rooftop footage became the symbol of everything hidden in the shadows. And as the crowd grew angrier, one truth became clear. This wasn't just about a gunshot. It was about a betrayal buried deep beneath power, politics, and silence. What no one knew yet was that the next leak would change everything again. The internet thought it had already seen the worst, but the truth was just beginning to bleed through the cracks. It started with a single encrypted file and ended with the entire nation questioning everything it was told. A hacker group calling themselves Echo Unit released a heavily scrambled audio recording late at night. It was distorted, but one line cut through crystal clear. The transfer is done. He'll never walk out of UVU. The timestamp? 2 days before Charlie Kirk was shot. The leak was like throwing gasoline on an already raging fire. Screens lit up across the world. Candace Owens reposted it with 3 words that echoed like thunder. Now we know. And just like that, the narrative exploded. Millions of people were no longer asking if there was a plot. They were demanding who signed off on it. Then came the next shock. A redacted security log surfaced, showing 2 additional access codes entered into the rooftop security panel within the 15 minutes leading up to the shooting. Not 1, not 2, but 3 people were logged in. The lone gunman story crumbled. The name that kept echoing in every live stream, every conspiracy thread, every late-night Twitter space was Erica Kirk. Not because she fired the gun, but because everything seemed to orbit around her silence. Meanwhile, the public memorial turned into a political theater. Cameras flashing, speeches echoing, banners flying, and Erica walked on stage in front of thousands. She didn't look broken. She didn't look lost. She looked like someone walking straight into the spotlight. Then she said the words that froze the entire room. This mission will live beyond the grave, and some of you already know why. The crowd gasped. Comment sections exploded. People didn't hear faith. They heard a veiled threat. Within hours, her speech was chopped, slowed down, and dissected frame by frame. Every blink became evidence. Every breath became suspicion. And then the parents disappeared. No interviews, no statements, no public appearance, not a single photo. The very people who raised Charlie had vanished from a conversation. It wasn't grief anymore, it was erasure. Dave Chappelle reappeared in a late-night segment and said, "If this doesn't scare you, you're not paying attention." Someone made sure his parents were silent. The internet lost its mind. The hashtag Where Are Charlie's Parents shot to #1 worldwide. Protesters outside TPUSA headquarters held signs with "Who signed the deal" written in blood-red paint. Then, in a move no one expected, an internal TPUSA email leaked. It was dated a week before the shooting. Subject line: Security adjustments for Utah event. The sender's name? E. Kirk. The attachments? Blacked out. That was the breaking point. People no longer whispered, they shouted. TikTok and X became digital war zones. Sides were drawn. Some defended Erica, calling her a scapegoat. Others swore she was the key. And right in the center of this storm stood Candace Owens, holding a phone on live stream, voice shaking with rage. This isn't just betrayal. This was signed, sealed, paid for. The word spread like a virus. Rooftop footage was analyzed like evidence in a global trial. Shadows were enhanced, timelines rebuilt. Someone even leaked an alleged audio transcript of an emergency call moments before the shooting. Ease in position. Confirm the signal. Nothing was the same after that. The final blow came when Erica was filmed in a black SUV outside an undisclosed building. No press, no lawyers, just tinted windows and 2 men in suits. The footage hit 50 million views in hours. People weren't mourning anymore. They were raging, demanding, screaming for the rooftop files, the financial records, the truth. And as the nation burned in questions, one thing became terrifyingly clear. This wasn't a tragedy the way they told it. This was a script, written by hands no one could see. A man was shot. A movement was born. A widow became a symbol. A rooftop became a battlefield. And the truth? It's still hiding. Erica Kirk stands silent. Candace Owens screams for answers. Dave Chappelle calls it out. And the rest of us, we're left staring at the rooftop, the single piece of evidence they've locked away. Why is the footage hidden? Who changed the access codes? Where did the $350,000 go? Why did the parents vanish? Every silence is a confession, if you're listening close enough. This isn't about one man anymore. This is about a system that decides what truth is allowed to exist. If you stay quiet, the story dies here. But if you speak, it spreads. Demand the files. Demand the truth. Share the story. Make your voice impossible to silence. Use the hashtag #ShowTheRoofFiles and hashtag #JusticeForCharlie. Because the most dangerous thing isn't the lie itself. It's the world that chooses to believe it.